As the van accelerated into the night, the headlights sliced through the darkness, revealing flickering trees and fleeting shadows on the roadside. My heart drummed in my chest, a wild rhythm matched only by the storm of thoughts that swirled within my mind. I stole glances at Maria and the stranger, both lost in their thoughts, the weight of the revelation hanging heavy between us. "Give me the photo," I urged, desperation sharpening my voice. It felt as though I were grasping for something more than just an image. It was the key to unlocking the past, to understanding the woman who had shaped my life. Yet, Maria held it with both hands, her gaze lost in a reverent trance. "We need to know what we're dealing with first," she murmured, almost absently, her thumb tracing the edge of the photo. In that moment, I recognized the vulnerability etched on her face. Maria, usually so composed, was grappling with something deep and personal. "What is it, Maria?" I pressed, leaning closer, the cramped space of the van suddenly feeling too small. "Please, tell me." The stranger shifted in his seat, a flicker of concern darting across his features as he caught Mariah's gaze. "We need to focus on keeping you safe right now," he interjected, his voice carrying an authority that felt both protective and suffocating. But I couldn't let it go. "No," I insisted. "You both know something. This affects me too." The gravity of the situation pressed down on me, and fear morphed into a fierce determination. "If we're going to survive this, we need to face it together." Maria finally met my eyes, and I could see the frailty within her strength. "It's your grandmother," she confessed, her voice barely a whisper. "It's about who she really was." With a steadying breath, she slowly unfolded the photograph, revealing the image to me for the first time. Frozen in place, I looked at the photo of a woman I barely recognized but felt deeply connected to, a younger version of my grandmother, her face radiant with laughter and fierce joy. Beside her stood another man, his features smooth and alluring, with an expression that mirrored a devotion I had never known existed in her life. "Who is he?" I murmured, my breath hitching. "Who is this man?" "That's Frank Peters," Maria replied, her voice trembling with uncertainty, words weaving in and out of the revelation. "Your grandmother's past was intertwined with his in ways we never understood. She was a part of something unconventional, and this man, it seems, he had a strong hold over her life." "What do you mean, unconventional?" I was bewildered. Each revelation felt like one more shockwave in the tumult of my emotions. I thought I was beginning to grasp what I was faced with, but every answer led to more questions. "He was involved in the very dealings that placed her in danger, and we believe the secrets contained in those papers are linked to a hidden world," the stranger said, appearing reluctant to divulge more. "A world that could very well mean life or death for you now." With a rush of adrenaline, panic surged through me. "Life or death? You can't just throw words like that around. What are we dealing with? Do you remember anything she ever told you about her past?" Mariah's question hung, forcing me to sift through disjointed memories. I remembered vague stories of courage and defiance, whispers of lost loves, and the haunting shadows that often flickered in the corner of her eyes when she spoke of her younger years. "Not much, really," I admitted. "Just pieces of stories, parables with unresolved endings. And now you're the one who holds the key. They could come after you for it," she said, her voice laced with urgency. "But even knowing that, we need to be careful. If you want to survive and uncover the truth, we must tread with caution." "Who's they? Who's after us?" I felt the walls of my reasoning closing in, the weight of possibilities suffocating. "Those who want to keep this hidden," the stranger replied, his brow furrowing. "People who will do whatever it takes to silence anyone who tries to expose it." That a sudden realization knocked the breath out of me. My grandmother's secrets weren't just for the purpose of her own history. They had the power to unravel a tapestry of dangerous intrigues that stretched beyond her life. I felt the encroaching threat, a primal urge to protect myself and what I had unearthed. But how? The van shuddered to a sudden halt, jolting us from our spiraling thoughts. Maria glanced out the window, her face paling as she gazed into the night. "We can't stop here," she exclaimed. "We need to move. Now." Before I could respond, the flicker of headlights washes over a familiar figure standing at the side of the road. A friend? Or another piece of this menacing puzzle? I narrowed my eyes, feeling the tension thrum between us again. "Go," Maria shouted. "Drive. We're exposed." I punched the accelerator, but my mind was swept away by uncertainty. The photograph, my grandmother's legacy, and the looming threat of an unknown danger crashed down upon me like a roaring wave, leaving me gasping for clarity. With each mile that flew by, the future stretched out before us like an unwritten chapter, blank yet filled with promise, whispers of danger, and the electrifying pulse of a growing fight for the truth. But as I grabbed the steering wheel, a profound sense of inevitability gnawed at me, telling me that the roots of my past were about to tangle deeper into the present. And then, as the van surged toward the horizon, a chilling realization pierced through the turbulence of my thoughts. The man who had been watching us from the shadows wasn't just a ghost from my grandmother's history, was somehow intertwined in my own destiny. The figure by the driveway slowly stepped into the light, and dread washed over me like a cold wave. There, framed by the moon's silver glow, stood an older man, his gray hair tousled by the night breeze. I could see the sharpness of his eyes, the way his posture was both confident and cautious. Every instinct screamed at me to flee, yet a part of me remained rooted, scanning the stranger for any signs of recognition. "Who are you?" I demanded, my voice trembling despite my effort to sound strong as if gauging our fear. He took another step closer, hands raised slightly in a placating gesture. "Easy there. I'm not here to harm you. The name's Henry. I knew your grandmother." I felt Maria's hand tighten around mine, warmth mingling with chill as uncertainty hovered between us. "What do you mean you knew her?" I asked, my voice more cautious now. "She meant a lot to many of us, especially those in her circles." His gaze flickered to the photograph on Mariah's lap, just as a new flicker of hope ignited within me. "You are holding something precious, something that could either bring you great fortune or deep trouble." That I shifted uneasily, the weight of his words settling heavily upon my shoulders. "We're just trying to stay safe. We need to know what's really happening." Henry took another step forward, scrutinizing the van as though judging its worth. "Then maybe you'd better come inside. There are things you need to understand." Before I could respond, the telltale flash of headlights pierced the night behind us, red and menacing. Panic surged anew, threatening to drown us. "No, we can't stay out here," Maria urged, her voice rising above the sudden clamor of my racing heart. "Quickly." Henry beckoned, throwing open the cabin door and ushering us inside before we could collect our thoughts. I glanced back at the van, now a mere apparition in the growing darkness, and the fear of leaving it behind was rapidly overtaken by the need to find sanctuary. The cabin, dimly lit but welcoming, held the scent of cedar and warmth from an old fireplace that hadn't seen flames in years. Dust motes danced lazily in the air, and the inviting feel of the space almost lulled me into a false sense of ease. "Shut the door," Henry urged as I entered, his voice firm yet comforting, masking the tremor that lurked beneath. I obeyed quickly, locking out the night and the unseen threats that crept closer with each heartbeat. Inside, the silence wrapped around us tightly, thick with unsaid fears. "You're safe for now," Henry assured us, his expression softening as he surveyed both our faces. "But you're carrying more than just a photograph. Your grandmother's past isn't forgotten, and those powers you mentioned won't rest until they find what they seek." "Why didn't she ever tell me?" I whispered, the incident feeling all too surreal. The reality of my grandmother's hidden life gnawed at my gut, twisting it painfully. She was a woman of strength, but she knew well the dangers surrounding those connections. Not everyone who seeks what she had will be friendly. They'll resort to anything to reclaim their secrets. As Henry's words sank in, questions churned in my mind, each one laden with weight. "Do you know what it is? What she was protecting?" He hesitated, surveying our faces, the gravity of his next words settling heavily around us. "Not everything can be shared so readily. The past has the power to bind or destroy. You must decide for yourselves what to do with this legacy." Just then, the muffled sound of voices flooded into the cabin from outside. I glanced at the windows, the sheer dread of those voices sending shivers down my spine. My heart raced as I turned to Henry. "We need to do something. Stay calm," he instructed, standing straighter, exuding authority. "We can't let them in. Your safety is paramount." My eyes darted around the room, seeking tools or weapons, desperate for a sense of control. "What if they find us here?" "Then we'll fight," Maria said fiercely, her resolve igniting a spark of courage within me. Her fear gave way to certainty, a fiery determination that I couldn't help but admire. We have to protect the photo, no matter what. But before I could grasp the full impact of what was unfolding, a loud bang reverberated on the door. My heart sank. Had they traced us to this hideaway? Time crumbled into a terrifying spiral as the doorknob rattled violently. Someone outside shouted, a command echoing with authority that paralyzed my thoughts, leaving only the ache of impending confrontation. "Stay behind me," Henry ordered, his voice steady, an anchor amidst the chaos unraveling in my mind. With one violent shove, the door splintered inward, revealing a shadowed outline cloaked in darkness, just a silhouette right now, but cloaked with a promise of violence. "We know you're in there. Hand over the photograph." And as the tension broke, the weight of my grandmother's hidden legacy loomed larger than ever, demanding to be faced in the raw light of truth. The cabin filled with uncertain hope and confounding danger, and I could only brace myself for whatever revelations awaited us in the storm that was about to unleash. The crash echoed through the cabin, resonating in the walls like the warning of 1,000 storms. For a split second, all eyes turned to the source of destruction, a shattering clarity slicing through the chaos. The air was thick with anticipation, each of us held tight in our own dance of emotions, from fear to curiosity, from desperation to a flicker of hope. When I turned to see what had caused the sound, my heart jolted in disbelief. A figure stood in the doorway, framed by moonlight slicing through the clouds. The dense rain from outside blurred my vision, and yet there they were, bringing with them a rush of familiarity that rooted me deeper in place. It was Elias, my older brother, panic evident across his brows and an uncharacteristic determination in his steps. "Get away from them," he shouted, his voice raw and crackling with urgency. Behind him, the storm raged on, lightning framing his silhouette, illuminating a force of nature not to be trifled with. "Elias," I gasped, half in disbelief and half in relief. In that moment, everything felt more profound, the connection between us igniting like kindling in a stormy wind. But the man's expression twisted into one of rage. "You've brought more?" he snarled before directing his ire toward the woman. "Are you really willing to risk everything for them?" Elias squared his shoulders, a steadfast wall of determination. "If you think he'll let you take what isn't yours, you're mistaken." His words cracked like thunder, radiating power and protection that in a heart-stopping moment. Choices cascaded around us like rain on a tin roof. The woman's gaze shifted back to me, her eyes seemingly pleading for me to understand the importance of impending choices. "Your lineage is written in shadows, but you can choose how it unfolds," she implored, her voice wrapped in urgency. The man snorted in disbelief, a lethal glint of malice surfacing. "They don't understand the weight of what they hold. That photograph was never just a record, it's a treasure map, a key to something far greater than they can imagine. And we'll do anything to retrieve it." The shadows in the room surged as the words settled heavily among us, my heart warring against the implications they carried. Treasures, legacy, the prospect layered beyond fear, yet tainted by something sinister. "Elias, you shouldn't have come," I said, panic spiraling in my chest. "It's too dangerous. I'm not leaving you here to face these men alone," he asserted, stepping deeper into the cabin, the steadfast aura too comforting amid the tumult, wrapping around me like an invisible shield. Mariah's grip squeezed mine harder, sharing in the tension that threatened to pull us apart. "What do we do now?" she whispered, eyes wide. With every shift in the scene, the emotions prickled. That invisible wall of safety cracked slightly as fear lapped at the edges. The strangers we had thought of as mere threats were now grappling with desperation for a legacy, a story we had stumbled into unknowingly. With a sudden flash of insight, I raised my voice, attempting to convey both bravery and confusion. "If you need this photograph so badly, what makes you think we're simply going to hand it over?" Both the man and the woman faltered ever so slightly, their drive colliding with a moment of uncertainty. "Because it's not just for you. We didn't want to hurt anyone," she responded, a heartfelt sincerity illuminating her features. "But we needed to protect what still can be saved." "Saved from what?" Henry interjected, frustration mingling with curiosity. "What do you gain by putting us in this danger?" The shadows in the room seemed to flicker as the woman's voice trembled. "From ourselves," she replied, pulling her gaze away from the man, revealing a vulnerability born of immense struggle. "There are forces at play beyond your understanding, and we've been sent to rectify a wrong one that's been festering for generations. My heart raced, exposed to the twin notions of legacy and sacrifice. Could it be that this was so much deeper than we could fathom? My palms began to sweat on the photograph hidden behind my jacket. A lingering fear that perhaps I'd become an unwitting participant in a larger conflict. I just wish I knew the whole truth, I finally breathed, my own desire for clarity overtaking my fear. Tell us what we're up against. Before she answered, the lights overhead flickered. Glimmers of electricity pulsed like a heartbeat caught between life and loss. And then, against the trembling tension, Elias caught my eye, a silent vow sealing his promise. But before the woman could speak, the man burst forth again, anger splintering his composure. Stop wasting time. We didn't come here for a therapy session, he seethed, edging closer. And as you said, time is running out, she said defensively, desperately grasping for control. We need to decide quickly if it's worth fighting for. Through this haze of confusion against the swirling tide of uncertainty, a new decision emerged. Elias stepped forward alongside me, determination forged by sibling solidarity. Whatever it is, you can trust us. The atmosphere tightened as the air crackled with potential. But just when it felt as though a new direction might emerge within the chaos, the man's eyes darkened, and he let out a menacing growl. Then you've made your choice, and you'll wish you hadn't. My stomach dropped, the weight of his words congealing into an unshakable dread. As thunder erupted outside, the sudden rupture of hope turned to fear, sending ripples through us all. A violent shift into the unknown. Everything had changed again in those mere seconds of decision, and nothing felt certain anymore. We stood at the edge of an abyss, and only the truth would reveal what awaited us on the other side. But now, awakened by determination and fear, I realized that the fight had only just begun. The photograph pulsed once more against my chest, and within me, the echoes of legacy called louder than ever. The moment Elias and I stood firm, a collective breath filled the cabin, tension palpable as the shadows wrapped tighter around us. The man sneered, contempt flickering in his eyes. Foolishness will only lead to pain. You have no idea what you're meddling with. Before the weight of his warning could settle in the air, I felt Maria's hand graze mine, a brief connection that sent tendrils of hope through my rattled heart. I wished for some Clarissa glimpse of what we were thrusting ourselves into, but every answer lay hidden beneath layers of uncertainty. Together or not, we're all caught in this storm, Henry said, his voice steady despite the quaking fear underlying his words. Tell us what we need to do to get through this. Your willingness to engage is commendable, the woman said, her voice steadier now, as though the storm within her had calmed somewhat. But know this, you'll be risking your lives. What you have touched, the photograph carries a burden that goes beyond family ties, and it's something others will kill to possess. Kill. I whispered, the word gripping me with a ferocity I couldn't shake off. What does it lead to? It leads to reckoning, the woman replied, her gaze piercing through my worries. To events that can twist the balance of the world, you know. What can we do? I pressed, desperate and slightly emboldened by the support of Elias, Maria, and Henry, each person's resolve fanning the flames of courage inside me. It's not merely about the photograph, you must understand. It's about standing your ground, becoming the sentinels of your legacy, a legacy that has been under threat for generations, she continued. You feel it, don't you? The weight of your choices shaping who you are. What do we protect it from? Maria inched closer, her eyes searching for understanding. The legacy demands sacrifices, the woman murmured, pain haunting her every word. And it's not just the past we're battling against. It's a rival faction that has sought dominance for centuries over those connected to the photograph. Suddenly, the man lurched forward, desperate to reclaim control of the situation. Enough with the riddles. You think by baring your soul you'll win them over? You're fragile. His voice was an angry crack that echoed throughout the cabin. What we need is that photograph handed over, and your lives may be spared. A pang of instinctive fear wrangled within me. But the photograph felt like a current inside might flickered with a warmth that promised something more than mere survival. We will not hand it over, I stated, resolute. To be brave is one thing, but foolishness can lead to your undoing, the man spat back, eyes narrowing. You wouldn't think twice if you knew what you were really up against. With every burst of thunder outside, the storm seemed to mirror the tempest within. Just as the air grew thick with impending confrontation, a small voice erupted from the shadows of the room. Don't hurt them. All heads turned in unison to reveal a face cloaked in the darkness, a child, barely 8 or 9, standing with feet planted firmly on the cabin floor. Her wild curls hung around her face, framing determined eyes that glimmered with defiance. "What did you say, Mia?" the woman asked, astonishment breaking her stern facade. "You heard me." Mia stood taller, her tiny frame radiating a courage that was far greater than her size. "This isn't right. They didn't choose this fight." The silent tension cracked, and something fragile sparked within the room, igniting unexpected camaraderie. For a fleeting moment, even the man faltered, taken aback by the child's unyielding spirit. "Children should not be involved in grown-up battles," he growled, his frustration edged with uncertainty. "What if I'm part of this too?" Mia said, unwavering. "We all are. Just like you. We deserve to know the truth. You can't run from it." There was a brave fierceness in her voice that reminded me more of Elias than anyone else. In that instant, the fabric of tension lifted slightly. The man's resolve seemed to wane, if only for a fleeting second. But it was enough. It crackled through the air like electricity, reminding us that we were not simply victims, but players in this unfolding drama. "Enough," he roared, reclaiming authority, the remnants of confusion in his voice fading. "We will take what belongs to us. Not without a fight," Elias responded, stepping protectively in front of me, as if to shield me once more. His voice was steady, an anchor amidst the roiling waves of fear that racked my body. The woman's eyes glazed over, a hint of despair mingling with regret. "This dark path is not what I want for you. There's a rival faction you've yet to encounter, and they seek far worse than just the photograph." "What do you mean?" Elias asked, apprehension carving his features. Before she could answer, the wind howled louder outside, resonating with foreboding, a wind carrying secrets and rage. And then just as the air around us thickened, the lights flickered violently, shutting off abruptly. An unnerving silence enveloped the cabin, and fear leached into my veins, constricting my breath. "What's happening?" I gasped, desperately clutching the photograph resting against my heart. But then, from the shadows, a sinister laugh slithered through the dimness, unmistakably familiar. "Oh, you've made quite the mess indeed." At that moment, my heart dropped as recognition washed over me. It was a voice I had long connected with, family, associated with warmth, now twisted and dark, my father. The layers of love and legacy fell like shattered glass, replaced by a chilling realization that the true danger wasn't just outside, it was woven within the very fabric of what I thought I knew. As dread spiraled into disbelief, a pivotal choice loomed ahead, echoing the woman's words. Would we emerge as guardians of our legacy, or lose ourselves in the coming storm? The uncertainty gripped me tightly as the unseen threads of fate began pulling, sending us further into the depths of this tangled web, unknowing of the dangers that lay in wait. As my father stepped into the cabin, the air thickened with a chilling familiarity, his face half shrouded in darkness. Everything I thought I understood about my past, my family, and even myself unraveled in an instant, revealing threads woven together with betrayal and secrets I had never anticipated. "Owen, I've been looking for you," he said, voice deceptively calm, yet cutting through the tension like glass. The name Owen was foreign on my lips, a title that felt too distant from the childlike safety of the past. The bewilderment coursing through me was thick as fog, and I could feel Maria's hand tightening around mine, as if anchoring me to the moment. "Why are you here?" My voice trembled, the weight of the question heavy with unmade choices. "What do you mean? You've been looking for me." "I had hoped to protect you from this," he replied, the warmth of his words fraying at the edges. "But it seems I've underestimated how far this would go. My life, my choices, they have and always will intersect with our family's legacy. I thought you were safe, but it looks like the past has other plans." The storm outside raged on, howling like a wild animal barricaded against a hunter's advance. It felt symbolic of the chaos churning within the warmth of the cabin, as I was thrust into the unknown, a nexus where family loyalty met the bitter taste of betrayal. My heart raced, grappling with the reality of his revelation, fumbling for any semblance of grounding. "Protect me from what?" "You're the one who kept secrets from all of us," I exclaimed, my frustration boiling over, feeling like the last flicker of a dying flame. "You didn't think I deserved to know?" He was at the heart of it. "Owen," my father lashed back, revealing a vulnerability that had been hidden all along. "I was trying to protect you from Frank Peters. Those after him don't play by the rules. He's not who you think he is." The secret your grandmother held was a dangerous weight, one that could destroy everything we know. Powers far beyond our understanding want to reclaim what was lost, and they will stop at nothing. Each word pounded through the room like a storm before the storm. As the others drew closer, their shared terror mixing with disbelief. Maria was speechless, lost in the turmoil of shattering revelations where her memories of my grandmother collided with the realization of a world built on danger. You don't understand the stakes. My father continued, his voice rising, laced with urgency. You must release your attachments to the photograph. Trust me, it's in your best interest. They will find us. The picture of my grandmother and Frank Peters flashed in my mind, each detail a cut of a deeper reality. But why not come clean sooner? I demanded. Why keep our lives shrouded in lies? Are we not deserving of the truth? His expression faltered at my words. Because erase the truth, some truths can't protect. They burden and bind. The less you know, the safer you may be. And yet, with the finding of that photograph, you are bound to the legacy. It has awakened a past that will come to claim everything. It's not just about holding on to it. Maria interjected, her voice suddenly sharp, cutting through the haze of accusations like a sunbeam through darkness. It's about deciding what we choose to do next. We can't let fear dictate our lives anymore. We owe it to ourselves and your grandmother to confront whatever this is. A charged silence hung thickly as we considered the gravity of her statement. Henry, whose eyes had been watching every exchange with keen interest, finally spoke up with a calm certainty. This photograph, whatever it holds, it carries potential. You three hold its fate in your hands. Whatever informed the bonds of your lineage must be unraveled and understood. Then we will, I declared with fierce determination, my heart pounding like a drum echoing against the silence of uncharted destiny. I glanced back at my father, searching the depths of his eyes for any sign of solidarity, any thread of support left in this tangled web. That if we're doing this, I need to know everything. No more secrets, I asserted, an unwavering blade urging through the uncertainty. The tension within the cabin shifted again, pooling like a gathering storm. With no time to waste and shadows of lurking danger fracturing the silence beyond the walls, we pressed for the truth. My father finally sighed, the lines etched on his face collecting memories and regrets. It's a tale of power, theft, and lives lost, those who seek to claim legacies without understanding the threads they tread on. Frank Peters is tied to a group that spans decades, and their reach is larger than you can imagine. What do they want from us? I pressed, the pulse of fear quickening behind my ribcage. They want the photograph because it holds proof of your grandmother's involvement, her connection to Frank Peters and his dealings. They believe that embracing what she left behind will empower them to reclaim what they lost. Stampthold, a fortress of knowledge, its key said to reside within the bonds of family. You must understand, you might hold the only remnant of power they have yet to tap into. A rush of anger surged through me. So you let it fester? You had the choice to face it. My voice trembled with a mixture of fear and indignation. What if I'm a part of this destined legacy? Then we must tread carefully. My father's voice softened, an anchor in the swirling tempest. Your choices lead this line. Protect what is yours. Do not let them twist it to their favor. Amid the tension, the room seemed to pulse with urgency. The unseen threats lurked just beyond our complex reality. But what smoldered brightly in the darkness of fear was a flicker of belonging, of strength against a tide of uncertainty. We would not yield, we would not retreat. The shadows may edge closer, but we would confront them together. In that defining moment, my heart ignited the keys of legacy and consequence entwined. Whatever awaited us, the potential of despair or hope, we were aligned with purpose. With unwavering resolve, I turned to my brother, my friends, and even my father. Then we stand united. We delve into the past, confront our fates, and define who we are moving forward. Henry nodded, his gaze steadfast. Then let us embrace this tangled legacy together. As the storm raged outside, the tempest within fueled our strength, gathering more energy than we could have envisioned. The photograph pulsed against my chest, a compelling reminder of everything before us, the legacy of love, betrayal, and the fight for truths that had long been buried. We steeled ourselves for what lay ahead, awakened to the power of our choices, ready to confront the storm, to unravel the shadows that held us captive. And through the chaos of uncertainty, we might find the clearest path toward the light, toward the truth waiting to set us free. The ominous whispers of violence and secrecy melted into the darkness beyond the walls, as we stepped into the uncharted territory of destiny together, resolute, facing everything waiting just beyond the horizon, ready to forge our legacy anew. "We'll reclaim it all," I murmured, feeling the strength of our newfound bond ripple forward. Together, in the name of truth and lineage, we would carve our rightful place, no matter the cost. And just before we slammed the door, sealing in our pact and the promises it held, I felt my heart pulse strongly, a single thought creeping into my consciousness. Perhaps in choosing this path, we could not only salvage what lay behind, but find redemption in what lay ahead. As we turned to face the gathering storm together, I could almost hear her laughter echoing in the spaces between us, the laughter of a grandmother who paved the way for this very moment, reminding me that sometimes, to begin anew means embracing the cracks where light can seep through.
He danced in her gaze. "You must be Sarah," the stranger said, voice deep and gravelly. He offered no name, only an unsettling smile that revealed more teeth than warmth. "I'm here about your mother." Ella's small frame trailed uncertainly beside me, his innocent heart unable to make sense of the tension brewing. "Mom. He's a bad guy, isn't he?" he whispered, clinging to my side, his fingers curling around my arm like a lifeline. "Stay back, Eli," I instructed, diverting my attention back to the intruder. "You have no right to barge in here. Whatever you're looking for, you need to leave." The protective fury coursed through me like fire, fueling a desperate resolve to keep my child safe. "That I am not here to be your enemy," he said smoothly, tilting his head like a predator sizing up his prey. "I'm looking for something your mother hid, something valuable. And you, Sarah, might just have what I need." "That we don't have anything for you," Leah interjected, stepping forward as if to shield me and Eli. "Whatever you think you want, you're mistaken. Am I?" He laughed softly, the sound dripping with condescension. "You don't even know what I'm after, do you? It's bigger than all of us. Your mother's games have consequences, and you two are tangled in it whether you like it or not." "Get out," I said, my voice low and steady, but inside I felt the turbulence rising. "You need to leave before I call the police." That he held up his hands in mock surrender, but his smile didn't touch his eyes. "No need for that. I'm not here to hurt anyone yet." A flicker of something darker shadowed his expression before it was lost in the mask of indifference he wore. "But if you don't cooperate, things could change. What do you want from us?" Leah demanded, anger rising to meet her fear. She stepped closer, defiantly. "Whatever it is, we will protect ourselves." "Protection isn't what you think it is." He gave Leah a look, weighing the threat she posed. "You might be surprised by who's really pulling the strings. The more you resist, the more danger you bring onto your family." Ella's small voice broke through the tension again, beautiful and pure against the haunting echoes of our confrontation. "Mom. Why is he being mean? I want to go play." His innocence somehow managed to cut through the air thick with anxiety, reminding me of the child I was fighting to protect. "Eli, come here." My voice softened as I knelt beside him, desperate for him to see my unwavering love rather than the fear encasing us. "It's okay. I need you to go to your room and close the door." "Can you do that?" But he started, uncertainty flickering in his bright eyes. "Please," I urged, imploring him to trust me. "Just do it. I promise I'll be right here." With slow reluctance, Eli obeyed my plea, casting one last glance at the stranger before retreating toward his room. I watched him go, a bittersweet pang in my chest. The innocence of childhood was too beautiful to shatter in front of him, yet here we were, enforced into a battle with shadows that held secrets too dark for him to comprehend. "Your boy is quite the brave little one," the stranger remarked, amusement playing at the corner of his lips. "But bravery can't shield you from reality, Sarah. That boy is at the center of this mess. Protecting him means facing what lies ahead." "Face what?" I spat, struggling to keep my composure. "I won't be threatened by you or anyone else. You think you can barge in here and dictate our lives?" "Dictating is the wrong word," he said, his voice smooth like honey but with a potent kick of truth laced within. "Think of it as guiding you to necessary choices. Choices your mother made and continued to make, even beyond her death." "What does that mean?" My voice wavered, unwanted fear creeping into my thoughts. Tell me, let's just say, she wasn't just hiding something from you. She was hiding from something. And that something is still lurking. It might be watching you now, he said, a satisfied glint in his eyes. In that moment, the walls around me began to close in, the air growing heavier with each word. My past, my mother, the cruel legacy of secret Sit was all surfacing, and I felt the foundation of my life tremble beneath me. Why should I trust anything you say? I asked, desperately searching for clarity amidst the chaos. He stepped closer, his voice dropping to a whisper. Because, Sarah, your safety and your son's depend on knowing the truth. The truth can fracture, but it can also free. Before I could respond, there was a sudden knock at the door, sharp and insistent, reverberating through the tension. I exchanged a glance with Leah, her eyes wide, her lips pursed into a tight line before turning my anxious gaze back to the stranger, heart racing with the realization that our world was unraveling with every breath. The door swung open, revealing a second figure, one I had never expected to see again. The person standing there had the power to change everything, and my heart dropped as recognition flooded through me. Mom! Eli's voice rang from deeper inside the house. You didn't tell me you were bringing Dad home. In that moment, as chaos enveloped the air like an impending storm, I felt the undeniable shatter of everything I believed about family, reality warping in ways I never imagined. Hope flickered like an ember within the dark, yet the battle was far from over. As the surprise washed over me, the air pulsed with a tension that seemed to take on a life of its own. I felt the weight of those two words, the gravity of my son's innocent declaration, crashing into me like a tidal wave. My eyes shifted from the familiar figure standing in the doorway to the expression of disbelief and unreadable curiosity on the stranger's face. Eli, come back here, I called, desperately trying to latch onto some semblance of control. Panic gnawed at me, threatening to pull apart the last remaining threads of our fragile reality. This isn't, but before I could finish, Eli darted forward, his excitement bubbling over in a way that only a child could manage in such a moment. Dad! Look! I made cookies. He held up the plate I'd baked earlier, unaware of the turmoil shifting around him, an innocent offering that shattered my heart further. As I stepped toward him, the figure at the door stepped forward too, an easy smile breaking across his face. Cookies. My favorite. You've been learning from your mom, huh? His voice was rich and warm, like honey and tea, every syllable laced with a familiarity that made my skin crawl. Why are you here? I managed to stammer, but more than the question, it was the rising panic and confusion swirling inside me that felt unbearable. How did Eli see him as a father? Why was he here now, years after everything had ended? Sarah, this isn't what you think, he began, raising his hands in a placating gesture. But there was an eagerness in his eyes that matched the stranger's, an eagerness that made the gut instinct to protect my child scream louder than the words tumbling from his lips. It's exactly what it looks like, I shot back, looking at Ella's face, round with happiness. How can you just walk in like this? You left. The stranger shifted his weight, eyes narrowing with calculated interest as he observed the interactions unfolding before him. The tension had taken on an almost electric quality, crackling in the air. Seems like you've both got a lot to talk about, he said, amusement painting his tone as he leaned against the frame of the door. Eli, sweetheart, I swallowed hard, the words clawing at my throat. Why did you call him that? Eli glanced up at me, confusion knitting his brows together. He's been nice to me at work. He said I could call him Dad if I wanted to. His little voice quivered with innocence, the trust shining in his eyes as they flitted between me and the man who had once shattered our lives apart. That I never agreed to this, I whispered, more to myself than anyone else, the ground beneath me quaking as reality twisted once more. Rage and despair waged war within me. You can't just sidle in after years of nothing and act like you still belong here. Sarah, listen, he said, crossing the distance between us to kneel at Ella's level. Your mom and I, we had reasons, okay? Reasons you may not understand yet. But I want to be back in your life, for you. For us. The stranger shifted, his eyes, once filled with amusement, turned razor sharp, narrowing as if he understood the fragility of this moment. You see how quickly this unravels? He said quietly, the tension in his voice slicing through the air. The truth has a way of breaking through no matter how many walls you try to build. Stop. I shouted, my voice cutting through the air like a knife. We are not a part of this. Eli, Mom. Eli interjected, a frown crossing his little face. Shouldn't you be happy? Dad is here. You always said family was important. Are we a family again? The question struck me like a punch to the gut. Was that what family meant? It wasn't just about blood or absence, but the connections we made, the moments we forged together. How had I let myself believe I could protect my son from the heartbreak of knowing who his father truly was, who he had become? I turned to redirect my attention from Eli to the man who had walked away so easily, the man who represented everything I feared would come crashing down upon us once more. But before I could think straight, the stranger took another surging step forward, looming in the space between. USA Dark Guardian against the veil of a past life I thought I could leave behind. You need to understand, Sarah, whatever's happening between you and him has consequences. It's not just about you anymore. His words cut through the air, each syllable embedding deeper into my bones. What do you mean? I asked, my heart pounding. The truth has always been lurking. It has a way of creeping up on you when you least expect it. And you'll have to decide where you stand when it comes crashing down, he replied ominously, his voice imbued with a chilling certainty. With that, something inside me lurched. A sense of dread clashed with a tiny flicker of defiance, a whisper that suggested the persistence of hope. Yet at that moment, I sensed the tightening grip of secrets too heavy to bear, the burden of choices unraveled and shrouded in confusion. As I looked at the three of us straddling the edge of a new chapter and perhaps a defining moment of clarity, the doorbell chimed once more, an unwelcome sound that echoed through our fragile sanctuary like something foreboding, shaping the boundary between past and future, leaving me grasping for both but finding only darkness. Mom. Are we a family? Please, just tell me the truth. Ella's little voice echoed in my mind as the weight of everything swelled, threatening to engulf us with impending chaos, and just then, reality felt shattered and rebuilt, a fraying string bound by invisible ties that felt destined to snap at any moment. As I stood there, caught between my son's innocent view of family and the stark coldness of truth, I could feel the darkness closing in once again, as what lay ahead unfolded like a dark horizon. As the doorbell's chime receded into an uncomfortable silence, I took a step back, instinctively protecting Eli from the looming specter of a past I thought I had buried deep. My mind raced, yet my heart felt leaden in my chest. Each heartbeat seemed to synchronize with the churning storm cloud of emotions gathering around us. There's still more to come, and it all revolves around Yus, the stranger, who had slipped into our lives so unexpectedly, said, his tone laced with gravitas. It was as if he was the harbinger of a truth I couldn't yet comprehend, a truth that felt dangerously close to shattering the delicate glass world I had built with Eli. Eli, oblivious to the tension woven through our fragile gathering, looked back and forth between us with bright eyes. Mom, can we just be a family? It'll be fun. Like the playdates I have with Ryan and his dad. We could bake cookies together. Right, Dad? Eli, I reached out, but my voice cracked under the weight of his plea. The innocence in his eyes dug deeper into the wound of betrayal, as though his belief in the goodness of family was a light I was about to extinguish forever. Do you really think it's that simple? The distant figure spoke again, his head cocked slightly, as though pondering the very nature of a family itself. You've raised him well, Sarah. But family, it comes with history, with expectations. And sometimes, with burden. Shut up. I shot back, though I felt the heat rushing to my face. You don't get to lecture me about family. A moment of silence cloaked us, thick and heavy. It felt like being submerged underwater, swaying in an unseen current anchored to the man in front of me, Ella's father, and all the unresolved questions that had yet to surface. For years, I had shielded my son from this man, convinced that I was preserving a sense of peace. But now, I felt the cracks appearing. Maybe some things are meant to remain buried, Sarah, said the man, body language shifting into something less menacing, more pleading in odd juxtaposition against the chaos unfolding. But I never stopped caring. Eli deserves to know what it means to have a father. It's time to let him make that choice. Choice. He's just a child. Anguish cascaded through me, but there was a small, treacherous voice whispering in the back of my mind, churning memories from when love had felt tangible, when the idea of family was free of the trepidation that now tainted it. Ella's hands fidgeted with the edge of his cookie plate. But I want to know him, Mom. Don't you want me to be happy? His voice cracked a raw and heartfelt plea from a child caught in a storm he couldn't control. Suddenly, the door swung open, the ambient noise of laughter from the hallway cascading into our home, as a group of children came bounding in, their faces aglow with the glee of childhood. Eli's friends from the apartment complex, Ryan, Mia, and Jamie, streamed toward us, each holding up their art supplies and snacks, unsuspecting of the thunderstorm looming within our walls. Eli. We came to invite you to play outside. Mia chirped, her energy infectious, yet that joy only made my heart ache more. Mom, can I? Eli implored, his inner conflict etched into the lines of his little brow. Maybe we should, I began, but the overwhelming sense of wrongness clung to me, like a weight that threatened to drag me underwater. The stranger's eyes lit up temporarily, as if the children's arrival was a beacon of hope to him. See. This is what life is about, Sarah. Your son deserves to thrive, not just survive. Isn't that right, Eli? The way he spoke my son's name sent icy fingers down my spine. How could any of this ever feel right? The echoes of laughter mingled with the shadows of pain, a surreal juxtaposition I couldn't comprehend. I wanted to shield him, but Eli's gaze held the glimmer of something I hadn't intended. Possibility. Can we play outside, please? Eli urged again, fidgeting in place, seeking reassurance all around. As I surveyed the scene, the children laughing, the sun shining through the window warm and inviting, it felt like a pang of desperation began to pull at my heart. Perhaps this was a moment after all, a fleeting breath of freedom and a chance to reclaim joy, if only for a fragment of time. That I took a breath, the air trembling with more than just uncertainty. But before I could let myself respond, the door creaked open wider as another figure appeared, an older lady with a kind smile, Mrs. Henderson, the building's sweetest tenant. Hello, dears. I brought over some extra brownies, she announced cheerfully, blissfully unaware of the storm brewing. A shrill laugh rang out behind her, an all too familiar laugh that sent a jolt of recognition through me. My heart stopped as I turned, realizing who it belonged to. It was another Wound I had tried to forget. What is she doing here? I breathed, barely managing to contain the rivulet of panic that wanted to erupt. The lines separating our past from the present felt impossibly thin now, and all at once, the atmosphere shifted again. Multiple wounds were about to confront meth past wound that would soon spill secrets far darker than I had ever anticipated. Mom. Eli turned to me, eyes wide with excitement and fear intertwined, a reflection of my own turmoil. In that moment, I realized, the truth was not just lurking Anna Marie, it was at our doorstep, ready to crash in like an uninvited guest. And as I stood on the precipice of everything I had fought to conceal, I understood that I alone had the power to combat the rising tide. But could I do it without tearing my family apart? Caught in a blinding moment of clarity, I couldn't ignore the voice whispering in my heart. The journey ahead would be fraught with decisions that would define not only who I am but who we would become. The air felt thick enough to cut as I steadied myself against the kitchen counter, desperation clawing at my insides. Eli's innocent laughter echoed off the walls, a stark reminder of the fractured family standing before us. It felt unreal, like a distorted reflection in a shattered mirror. There was heaviness in my chest, a suffocating weight that dampened the lightness of the children's excitement. A darkness I had desperately tried to shield Eli from. As the colorful little silhouettes rushed around the living room, my heart sank deeper into an abyss of fear and uncertainty. Life is about love and laughter, the stranger had declared, tossing those words around like confetti over an unsuspecting crowd. The irony twisted inside me, an ache of bitterness that ripped through the lightness around us. But is that what you think family is? I whispered to myself, knowing all too well that love didn't exclude pain or loss. It often thrived within the cracks of chaos left behind by betrayal. Mom, Ella's voice broke through my spiraling thoughts, gripping my hands with unwavering hope. can I play with my friends? His eyes sparkled with innocence, hopeful, untainted by the harsh realities that had become my entire world. And there it was, his sweet smile, the laughter of children I once thought I'd be able to protect him from, the essence of a family untainted. For a fleeting moment, I felt a surge of warmth wash over me, a tug against the shadow that had threatened to consume us. But the uncertainty still loomed heavy, casting doubt over every breath I took. "Sure, sweetheart," I finally replied, forcing the words past the lump in my throat as I looked to where their excitement fanned out into unstoppable waves of joy. "Go ahead. Just keep an eye on each other," I added, my protective instinct surfacing as I watched the four of them rush toward the door, laughter spilling like sunlight into our dimly lit kitchen. The sight pulled at every protective fiber within me, gratitude and dread intertwined into a knot of conflicted emotions. Watching Eli grow up, laughing and playing without a care in the world felt like my only purpose, yet I couldn't shake the feeling that darkness was hovering right outside our reach, waiting for the chance to weave its twisted narrative into our lives once more. Leah